Hola, minasan, ohayou gozaimasu. Bom dia, meus amigos. I'm glad to see you here. I've got to do an on the radar again today because I swear things are going faster and faster and crazier and crazier. And we're getting to the point now where I think we're not going to be able to diagnose uh, our problems, our pathologies in the near future. I mean, we're just not going to be able to. We'll be so completely immersed in propaganda, misinformation, marketing, public relations, content, and buffeted about by all the BS that our leaders use to keep us pacified and domesticated and helpless and hopeless and powerless. That we won't know what's going on anymore, really. We'll just be mindless parrots. I remember when I was a kid and I used to complain about the content on television, and I would think, is it because people are stupid and they just want mindless, brainless, really dumb entertainment? Or is it because we've been trained or conditioned to like a mindless, shallow, dumb entertainment? And it was confusing. I always thought, because I used to watch PBS even when I was a kid. And I used to listen to NPR, which used to be good when I was a kid. And other people, adults in my life. Anyway, I was interested in documentaries and, National Geographic and things like that. And bit by bit, as cable TV came out, History Channel and Discovery all became nonsense. Really, the lowest brow BS entertainment that you could ever produce. And obviously, people watched it or they wouldn't produce it. And then later came reality TV, Duck Dynasty and things like that. The Kardashians being the Kardashians. I never watched those shows. I did out of curiosity, the way that you would watch Jimmy Swaggart if you wanted to know what those kinds of uh, preachers were like. Rest in peace, Jimmy Swaggart. So, it's a curiosity, and you look at it, and then you shake your head and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe people watch this," but they do, and they have for decades. So it's a chicken is the egg conundrum where you are thinking, well, it works both ways, doesn't it? We're conditioned to want this stuff just like you want to drink Coca Cola and Mountain Dew all day and eat Hostess Twinkies and whatnot after school, uh, as opposed to an orange and a cup of tea or something like that, that people might consume in different cultures. Of course, we're wealthy in the West, in the global North, so we can buy all kinds of really nice things that we get used to consuming. And that includes entertainment. And although there are great shows and produced, both news and documentary and entertainment, there's also a lot of garbage. And there has been since day one. And, if you look at the public service announcements in the 50s, 40s, go back to radio era in the 30s and so on, obviously propaganda and nonsense was distributed back then. So there's never been a completely clean information ecosystem. You talk about intellectual hygiene or something like that. Uh, it's always been full of garbage. And so when I share this stuff on social media, I don't, I'm not saying I'm a big shot or people care or even consume the information because I'm not promoting it. And, I think my friends just steer clear of my Facebook because I don't share, cats and plates of food all the time. I put up some serious stuff and hope that people will pay attention and want to do something. But that's a pipe dream. I know it's kind of stupid, but I'm in the habit of doing it. Maybe I should nix that habit and move on to something else, but we'll see. Anyway, when I share these things, curate, I'm trying to help people see through the propaganda. And sometimes to do that, one must seek out information from different perspectives. So, oh my God, really? The North Korean people have a perspective, and only they produce nationalistic propaganda and theater. America doesn't do that. We just had Trump's little uh, theater. And the media in the United States is constantly doing it. So we're awash in it. It's water to fish. We don't notice it. We think all of our stuff is legit. CNN and all the news channels are terrible. MSNBC is a nightmare if you really pick it apart and critique it. It's tragic that people watch that stuff. If you want to dig a little bit deeper, all the information's there, and there are some good journalists out there doing the work to try to inform people. But even if people were well informed, would they do anything? Because we've been conditioned to want to nurse and take care of our addictions and prioritize that above everything else. And then for a lot of people in the United States, uh, they're too busy trying to survive to care about anything. And then people with a good job don't want to say anything that's going to get them fired. They need the benefits, they need the insurance. So you can't really blame people for that. You know what I mean? I've had friends who communicated with me and then said, I can't anymore because my boss is watching. And if he sees me interacting with you, it's not going to be good for me. Okay, fine. So that's the way it goes. We had this election in New York, and so now they're trying to dismantle and smear Zoran Mamdani. It's not xenophobia. It's Islamophobia or just anti-Islamic racism. So Citations Needed put out a news brief today that's extremely good. I wish everybody would listen to that podcast because it really helps you see beyond the BS. I'm just hoping that enough people can do that, see beyond the BS, that they'll actually be inspired to get together with other people that can see beyond the BS and do something. Because all of our leaders need to be fired and replaced with people who have a conscience, who can think clearly, who have principles, who have a moral compass, who have ethics, good ethics, and so on. And we need to create a new way of life, and it's not going to be easy because that's culturally based. So cultural evolution moves very, very quickly, like Moore's law and computers and so on. And biological evolution takes time, but we are evolving and have been for a long time. One can argue whether our brains are better now than they were 20,000 years ago. In reality, one can do that. And one can speculate about our use of technology and how that's going to affect our brains long term. If I thought we were going to be around in 50 years, I might worry about that more. But it seems like it's pedal to the metal to extinct as many species as we can on our way to heating the planet up to 4 degrees above the pre-industrial baseline. And on the way to that, we have to, the United States of America, Uncle Sam has to kill all of its rivals and competition. Can't let them exist. They have to go. The United States has to control the spice, all resources, natural resources, and energy resources in the world. And of course, this is all maintained, this madness, by careerist leaders and their service staff, their lawyers, their accountants, their consultants, everybody who supports them, their staff, and basically the support is structural and systemic and cultural and sociological and so on. So all of these things, this lattice work, weaves together to create the structural and ideological and psychological support for this crazy, mad, batshit garbage to continue. It's nonsense, but people can't see it. And, for most people, I think normal people, they wouldn't go there because unfortunately, it doesn't make you holy, but you have to read a lot of books and stuff. You have to kind of train yourself a little bit how to think. And then there's all these real smart guys on the web that sound so articulate and look so expert and are so emphatic. Uh, Shapiro and Weinstein and people like that. And people just think, oh, Sam Harris is so smart. If I listen to him, I'm going to be smart. You're going to be smart when you teach yourself how to think and when you do the work yourself. So even if you use the LLM librarian to do some research and write a paper or an article, you have to vet the information. You have to put it in your own voice. You have to structure it so it says what you want to say and so on. And you have to have a reason to want to communicate that's more than just make a buck. It has to come from some deep passion. And I think we're losing that actually because we're reactionary passionate. We react to things that bug us and piss us off and annoy us and outrage us. And we're parroting the reaction. It's not even really ours. It's kind of like we're mimicking the reaction of the people that we follow or pay attention to. And this cultural milieu, this environment, atmosphere that gets into your system. Yeah, we're all victims of that. I am too, because I choose to listen to and read and look at different information than a lot of my friends do. So I'm affected by that. And one can have a really good, honest, intellectually honest argument about whether or not my information ecosystem is better than somebody else's. And one can do that empirically, one can do that by following multiple lines of evidence and deciding whether or not this way of thinking or worldview is slightly qualitatively better than another one or not, whether it's toxic, and so on. So, anyway, I'm going to play this real quick, a little snippet from News Brief. Corporate media Dem elites manufacture anti Semitism scandal to discipline Mamdani. So, remember the McCarthy era? Perhaps you've read about it or something. Have you now or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? And that was that. So even if you hadn't been or anything, they would say that and you'd say no. And then they'd say, what about this guy, film director, actor, or something, who's been affiliated with the Communist Party? And you say, well, I don't know anything about him. He's an actor. He does good work. I don't know what to think about that. Are you going to condemn that actor or not? And if you don't condemn that actor, then you're guilty by association. So we're all becoming terrorists, right? We're all becoming condemned by association because we're not going to. And intifada, they talk about the definition of that. Look it up yourself. Do your own research. But I'm just going to play this one short excerpt.
So that they can attack Mamdani.
Pretty much, and there's no effort to really differentiate those two things. And so we're going to talk about the anatomy of a meta scandal, which is how you sort of gin up a scandal where there really isn't one. So the ADL worked very hard. I'm sure they spent lots of researchers and interns mining everything Mamdani's ever said and posted online to find something anti-Semitic. So they couldn't find something anti-Semitic. So what you do when you don't have someone who's actually said something anti-Semitic, and is in fact, again, endorsed by the highest-ranking Jewish official in New York, every poll shows him polling a strong second amongst Jewish New Yorkers, you have to kind of invent something. So what you do is you just pose to them hypotheticals or statements other people made and do the will you condemn game. And the will you condemn game, again, is reserved only for anti-Zionist or Muslim candidates. This is not something that Republicans are ever subject to. It's not something that Zionist candidates are ever subject to. People who want to shovel billions of dollars to Israel are never told to condemn the genocidal statements, the actual genocidal statements made by people actually committing genocide.
And actual genocidal videos posted by Israeli soldiers in Gaza.
Never meant to condemn any of that. Yoav Gallant saying we're gonna, they're human animals. We're gonna, they're actually starving them. There's actually children who are skin and bones that actually exist in the third dimension in actual reality, actually right now, actually in Gaza. Never meant to condemn the actual genocide going on. But one must condemn theoretical, possible, potential meta-genocides that may happen in the future, okay?
Based on what people post on Twitter.
Right, so there's this question in the...
Yeah, so this is very powerful. And I want you to listen to Citations Needed. I don't get paid. It's good, and it'll help you think more clearly about current events and how we're all subject to and victims of propaganda and marketing and public relations. Now, all of these tools can be helpful, and if used in the right way, good for society, but these days it's not so good. So we move on from there. So next thing I want to share is here's my minds.com social media, T at Minds, and here we have a video here that, oh gosh, I've got queued up for the ad. So let's skip that.
They'll just go wherever the current of power directs them. And when powerful interests say, this is what we want, in their current incarnation, as government ministers, they will give those powerful interests what they want. They are absolutely terrified of power. They're terrified of the power of the billionaire press. They're terrified of the power of the US government. They appear also to be terrified of the power of the Israeli government. And they do not want to be speaking about taking money from people associated with terrorist regimes. Well, Yvette Cooper has taken money from lobbyists favourable to the Israeli government. Weapons and weapons parts to the Israeli government, providing espionage support.
Here's another article that kind of goes with this. I didn't, wait a second, it's, yeah, so here we go. Counterpunch, unhoused and then displaced like me. So we have plenty of problems in the United States of new miracles. We keep shooting ourselves in the foot. Apparently we don't need the tax revenue or the labor of naturalized citizens. We don't need their help at all. We just want to get rid of them because what? Right? It's so bizarre. In so many ways, the United States shoots itself in the foot over and over and over again, and it doesn't seem to care. And people seem to think it makes sense, which is bizarre. So we've got plenty of our own problems. We have Turkish automated factories in the United States that are supposed to produce artillery shells for the war in Ukraine or whatever. I suppose we'd have to get Chinese factories in the United States to make drones for the war or something, but we can't produce enough weapons to fight a peer military power in Ukraine. But we can afford to send Israel weapons constantly because they're just using them to bomb civilians, to kill civilians, basically. So unless you believe that everybody in that region is a terrorist by virtue of resistance, and that's what intifada means, just resistance. But anyway, lots of people can explain that to you. So we have, we're building alligator prisons in Florida to warehouse people that could be productive members of our society, could pick the peaches and do some work and pay some taxes and help you out, help your mother out at home because she has diabetes and she's sick and she needs a helper because you live halfway across the country and whatever. But no, we don't value their work. We need these labor savers to come into the country and do work, but then we hate them for being there. We condemn them and we pretend like they're all criminals. Well, and then we have to go around the world and sanction everybody and kill everybody that competes with us. So it's pretty bizarre. And again, Chris Hedges' report, Profiting from Genocide, the latest United Nations report names hundreds of corporations, banks, technology firms, universities, pension funds, and charities that profit from the Israel occupation and genocide. And I keep saying it's not America first, it's profits first. That's the way it's always been. Uh, all of George Washington's real estate ventures, it's all profits first. When I talk about Madisonian or whatever, it's about the profits, and it always has been. And so we've been through various eras of profit making. Now we're into the scam of artificial intelligence and having to have that because we're all going to be dead anyway soon. So if we're not uploaded onto the machine located at the dark side of the moon, powered by the Dyson sphere, we're gone forever. How are these tech bros going to live forever? Are they going to go to heaven? Are they going to, repent and ask Jesus for forgiveness and go to heaven? I don't think so. Are they going to be martyrs and go to Islamic heaven? No. They want to live on a computer chip. So train up, get ready to make those new chips because you're needed. So yeah, this is a good article. Obviously, lots of hyperlinks that you can run down and you can do your own research and see if Chris Hedges is having you on or if he's actually giving you decent information. And again, more information about Palantir's CEO. And it's just grotesque what happens in the West nowadays. And it always has been, but we're confronted by it more and more. And you're not allowed to criticize your own country because you, want to make it better? Because you, want your children to have a nice future? You want them to live in peace? In relative comfort, so on and so forth. No, we can't do that. Can't improve on the United States of New Miracles. It's got the best business models in the world. It's got the most ingenious CEOs in the world, And anybody else, those Huawei people, how dare they? They have their own operating systems now with their own local Chinese code. They're not piggybacking on Linux or Microsoft or DOS or something like that. I don't know the details, but they are countries like China and India and Russia and other places that have the resources, the capability, the people to produce new operating systems, new hardware and software. They're going to do it because they can now. And it's going to compete with the US. You're not going to be able to say, look, you're a Microsoft guy or an Apple guy, okay? And that's that. And nothing more. And then we get caught up in these ecosystems. We can't get out. We pay more and more every year for rents within those ecosystems. They don't work for us, but we can't criticize them because we can't compare them to anything that might work better. There's no competition. It's all monopoly capitalism, 0 to 1, Peter Thiel type stuff. And so we don't know better. We just don't know better. So is the entertainment shit or is it the best entertainment in the world? I just watch it. It's fun. It's pastime. So that's great. And then here's Simplicius again. And of course, people hate that because, oh my God, it's not a CNN Fox News perspective. It's got to be satanic. It's got to be commie. It's got to be something wrong with it, But of course, he does put a great deal of links and places you can go to vet the information. And of course, why wouldn't you want to know what's really going on in the Ukrainian war? If you care, I mean, I don't think most Americans care. If you're going to have a war in Ukraine to the last Ukrainian, and then send in the French and the Brits and the Germans and everybody else, that's what you're going to do. People are going to shrug their shoulders, especially in the States. I don't know about Europeans, how much they really want to go spend 5 years in that part of the world, hurling drones at one another, rapid prototyping, all the high tech, network. And people are putting up, China is putting up communications satellites, Russia is, other parts of the world, they're creating their own networks. And, pretty soon they're going to have their own financial system going on among the BRICS. America can't handle that, so they're going to try to kill their enemies any way they can. And this is what they're obsessed with. They really don't care about your health care. The big, beautiful bill has been passed, and so lots of people are going to die because of that, internationally because of U.S. aid going away, and also domestically because of health care issues and other things. And I think this administration will kill more people passively than any administration has in the 240 some odd years of U.S. history. So there's that thing. And then, J.D. Vance cast the deciding vote. So can't wait to have President J.D. Vance around, huh? Or another corrupt asshole from California, Newsom. He'll be great because I'm a Democrat, so he'll be great. These people have all sold out a long time ago. They're careerists. They're vandals. They have no principles. They have no moral compass. They don't care about you. And we've got to find a way to find people who understand how the world works, step up and take responsibility and become the new leaders. But I don't know. Is that possible? What's wrong with me? Why do I even care at this point? So this is the thing I referred to earlier. So you can't get the 40,000 shells produced, blah blah blah. So they have the warehouse Lyndon B. Johnson factory in an industrial area outside Dallas. The future of American military ammunition production is coming online. Here's the Pentagon's first new major arms plant built since Russia invaded Ukraine. Turkish workers in orange hard hats are busy unpacking wood crates stenciled with the name Repcon, a defense company based in Istanbul. You can't even make your own freaking munitions factories, but you have to make them. You got to invest in those shells because we have to kill our enemies. That's more important than climate change. It's more important than ecocide. It's more important than anything in that quiver of predicaments, aka the poly crisis, right? So there was a stockpile of shell bodies that were being drawn by the LAP facilities, but those must have been exhausted. So projectile production has now fallen to 40,000. And they were talking about, producing 100,000, blah, 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 a month or whatever it was. Russia, in the meantime, continues pumping out an estimated 250 to 350,000 shells per month. And then they people on our side will say, well, shells don't matter anymore anyway. It's all about drones. Okay, where are your drones? How many American-made drones are you sending over there? There's lots of independent companies in Russia making drones. And both sides have to use Chinese components to make them. So there's that. And yes, artillery still matters. Yes, it does. They're still using it. So then you go to the maps, he shows that. Lots of sad videos that come from everywhere where people are actually fighting, getting killed. We don't seem to mind about that. We're not going to work for peace. That would be crazy. Diplomacy? Trump doesn't give a freaking fuck. He's selling his fragrance. He's got his fragrance. I don't know what it's called, but, that thing, merchandise, marketing merch. That's what he's doing 24/7. That's what he cares about. And there are lots of people in the US apparently that buy that crap. I mean, my God, it's nuts. People are stressed out, they're having problems. So, yeah, imagine that. Russia produces war propaganda and videos to help with the morale of its troops. Why would they do that? Only Americans can do that, right? So we don't want to know what the other side's doing. We don't care. So he has a lot of that. And then this is hilarious. I just am amazed by this. So North Korea and Russia have a deep connection now. So I want to go to the end first and read what Simplicius says at the end. One can truly glimpse the unparalleled closeness and trust between Russia and North Korea. One can hardly think of a global example. Israel and the U.S. is a tempting comparison, but we know it's a one-way street. And you can think of that both ways, actually. The parasite colony has no real respect for American culture beyond put-ons to squeeze more donations and aid. But I think it's more symbiotic than that. America needs its aircraft carrier to control the spice in the Middle East. And Israel, the Zionists, need America for its greater Zion, its greater Israel project. So they both need each other. They exist for each other. They created each other. They defend each other. One and the same thing, actually. It's like the separation of the mind and body. Sorry, it's all connected, folks. Oh, you mean that gut bacteria affects your brain? Just like a bottle of wine? No, anyway, yeah, it's all connected, folks. That's the way it is. It's symbiotic. It's a system. It's a complex, adaptive, ever-evolving system. Although the politics is a lot sicker than anything you'd find in nature. So anyway, comparison, but we know it's a one-way street. The bond between Russia and North Korea is forged in a real and tangible historic crucible. And people don't want to talk about how USSR beat the Germans in World War II. We can't go there. It just hurts too much. It's too painful to think that Private Ryan didn't beat, Hitler. One of mutual resistance and existential sovereignty rather than parasitic global colonialization. Sanctions, having to have our corporations run everything or else. All the wars, the forever wars and so on. That's what he's talking about there. And these people, why does North Korea, this crazy cult country, have nuclear weapons? Probably because they don't want to have somebody else dictate to them how they should do things. Now, you've been to North Korea or not? You've been to South Korea or not? You want to make your comparisons? I've been around the region for decades. Go ahead. I get it. In a later video, I'm going to talk about, is it really that bad? I mean, I've been happy most of my life, so if it's that bad, why am I so happy, right? What, is it really that bad? And there's many ways one can look at it and dissect it and treat it and examine it and live in it. You can see both sides. Yeah, it's pretty damn bad, but I'm still pretty damn happy. How does that work? So, it's a level of respect and genuine friendship the U.S. and its vassals will never know. So is there genuine friendship between European cultures and the United States? I mean, yeah, Portuguese people want to leave Portugal and make more money in the US or somewhere else because they can make more money. And the system requires money. You got to have money. But do they really respect, when I was traveling in the 70s and 80s, people used to make fun of Americans and talk about how fucking stupid and greedy, what loud assholes we were and stuff, to your face. And I'd say, well, I also lived in Ireland. Oh, no wonder you're not a real American. That's why you're so different. That's why you're slightly likable. I don't know, but that happened a lot when I was growing up. It happened in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and it's happening now. People here often that I talk to often think, I can't believe you're an American citizen because of the way I think, my worldview. Um, yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm not ashamed of being American. I have lots of really smart, beautiful, bright, and lovely and decent American friends, and there are good people. Citations needed. They're Americans. Chris Hedges is American. There are lots of good people, but unfortunately, the masses are pathological. They're brain dead. Um, our information ecosystem is just not good for people. Uh, we can't handle it. We can't handle the truth. So, parasitic global colonialization, you have to say that's a fact. You can go back 400 years, 500 years, the age of discovery, whatever, and you can study the history of it if you want. It's not that hard. So they rule only through fear and coercion. They're twisted puppet leaders, mistaking servility for trust and camaraderie. It is a house built with flimsy wood and no foundation. So you have the cocaine Hitler that these people call Zelensky. Sorry about that. Uh, these people do use drugs. They are out there. He was an entertainer and a comedian. Now he thinks, Uncle Sam's in his corner so he can't lose. And unfortunately, the poor guy, he's going to be sadly disappointed. You support Saddam Hussein when you need to, then later you kill him. You support Gaddafi when you need to, then later you kill him. This is the way it goes. I don't know what's going to happen in Ukraine next year, the year after. I don't know how the forever war is going to end, probably in wet bulb earth with billions of people starving to death, but whatever. Poor Zelensky, I have a feeling he's not going to have a good end. It's not going to be his mansion in Miami. It's not going to be his mansion in Italy. It's probably going to be something worse. I think a lot of people will have the opportunity to bug out to the United States. But look at the U.S. I mean, weather whiplash every day, floods, tornadoes. Some kid set up an ambush, started a fire, I guess, and then shot first responder firemen, killed two people. Some guy who likes guns and swastikas. I mean, that's it. That's the world you live in over there. And I can't think of one instance. I did a little search of people doing that in Europe with 400 some odd million people in it. It's just a weird thing to do. I don't see people doing it in China or Japan or Singapore, whatever. Well, they don't tell you the truth. You can't get real information. Bullshit. You can find out. It's just a weird, exotic country where this kind of shit happens all the time. You go back and look. Oh, there was another fight on an airplane, and people had to bust it apart, and people were trying to kill each other on the airplane. You go in on a search and you look back. It happens almost monthly. It's not a one-off thing like, oh my God, can you believe that happened? What a funny thing that is. People used to make fun of Karens. I just haven't experienced that flying around Asia or Europe in my life. Anecdotal, I get it, but it's not hard to find out the facts, the data, the statistics. How many fights happen on Ryanair in Europe? It's a pretty stressful airline to get on because it's cheap. But I haven't seen any fights. Could have been one or two, who knows? But, it's weird. It's just weird. We're going to build this prison. It's going to be like Guantanamo, cages. And it's going to be surrounded by crocodiles, alligators, and, whatever. And razor wire. It's going to be so cool. And malaria. And, we can't, so many people are going to die of polio, are going to get polio and die of malaria and HIV, AIDS. Preventable diseases or diseases that could have better outcomes, give people an extra 5 years of decent life. But we're not going to fund that anymore. Um, the tax cuts are going to go to the wrong people. American agriculture doesn't really care that they can't export their product, their wheat or whatever, their corn abroad now because of the sanctions, because the U.S. is just going to print money and give it to them. And these aren't family farmers getting the money. These are corporations getting the money. So who cares? We just leave the corn in to rot or whatever and harvest the money. You know, it's so weird. It's such a weird country. So this is pretty bizarre here. There, lots of tears. They're proud. Their boys served in Russia, fought to kick the Ukrainians out of Kursk. And there's tons of Russians in the audience. I should probably turn this down a little bit. Sorry about that. But there's lots of Russians in the audience, dignitaries and soldiers and veterans and so on and so forth. And this is a big production. Oh my God, they can do that? They have video? Look at these Russian people crying. You know, they care. They care about their alliance. They care about their people. They're excited. They're proud. Oh my God. You know, we can't be proud. If pride is proud and you have gay people marching, that's a problem. But you have to wear your yellow ribbon. You have to support the troops. They support the troops. Maybe they don't support gay pride as much, but there are still gay bars in Moscow. I'm sure there aren't any in Pyongyang. But anyway, there you have it, man. Check this out. Let's zoom in. Oh. Russian dignitary crying, full of emotion. Kim, full of emotion. Remember Trump's boyfriend? They got along, they understood each other. Remember when George W. Bush said that Putin, he could stare into his soul, he saw into his heart? Yeah, whatever works. So there's that. That's my on the radar for today. I'm going to stop now. But you can see, you put all this together and you've got a very bizarre situation. It's sad that people don't want to do anything or can't do anything. Things aren't going to get any better, unfortunately. It would be nice to think that AI is going to save us or something, right? Aliens or Jesus Christ or whatever. I kind of envy people who just think it's the end times and the second coming and all the bad guys are going to be wiped out in a horrific period of time, and all of us good people are going to float up into glory and hang around with our relatives in paradise. Yeah, it's kind of lucky and mindless, shallow patriots, you know, nationalists or whatever the thing is you believe in, can just get excited about that, you know. Sniper, you know, there are wolves and sheep and whatever. But if you start seeing through it and thinking systemically and thinking in terms of physics and biology and thinking in terms of complex systems and stocks and flows and things like that, once you see that, you can unsee it, and it can help you, it can help motivate you or help you focus your attention in a different direction. And by doing so, you might be able to get together with people in your community and discuss these things and decide that you're not going to have this. We've got to change direction, actually. And we have to participate in producing this change in direction. So yeah, you can follow me at Minds or at Substack. Cospelon or Bulliam tea. And I post stuff like here's my book page that I've shared many times. And another book that I just recently started was Don't Talk About Politics, and it's quite good. So, drawing from an ancient philosophy to modern neuroscience and social science, Dr. Sarah Stein Lubrano reveals the surprising truth about how people think and behave politically. From friendship to community organizing and social infrastructure, she explores the actions that actually do change minds. I don't know if I'm going to change your mind. Nobody's watching anyway. In a world where politics keep getting more irrational, dishonest, violent, and chaotic, it's getting much harder to reach people with words alone. So people who really care about democracy must ask, how can we stop arguing and do the deep work to build stronger foundations for political life and a better world for all of us, for us all? So I'm spending some time making this, so I would appreciate it if you found any information here interesting or stimulating in any way. You click like. You can subscribe if you want. If you don't like it, just say you don't like it. I would like to ask for your advice. How can I make this better? How can I reach more people? I haven't been promoting it very well, so, but anyway, I want to share my thoughts or I wouldn't make this video. And I'm hoping it actually helps people. So I don't know if it helped one or two people. That's what we all say. It'd be worth it. So share it if you can, if you like. If you're not embarrassed by what I've said, you could share it with a friend. Maybe they'll appreciate it. I don't think that necessarily sharing it with our kind of people is the only way to do this. We can share it with people who don't agree with us, see what they have to say. When I do that, a lot of times they just won't look at it at all because they think you're crazy because you don't think in the mainstream conventional way. You're not parroting the right sentiments and information, so you're crazy. And, but sometimes people can decide to look at something else, and maybe curating content that's a little bit alternative can help people expand their worldview and see things more clearly. I'm not saying that my sources are all perfect, that everything they say is true and helpful. I'm not a huge fan of Simplicius. I look at other information surrounding that conflict, the war in Ukraine, but I think that it's an important perspective to have if you want to really understand the war, because you get plenty of propaganda from our side. It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. So that's covered. So all of these different publications like Counterpunch, and then at my website also I have links. So links we love here, and I have a ton of links to things that I think might help broaden your worldview, and it has to do with a lot of different domains and subjects and so on. And I think it could be helpful, or at least maybe expand your awareness of what's out there. And of course, if you're deep in the weeds and already know it all and understand the polycrisis and that kind of thing, and you're just not interested in this subject, well, thank you for looking until now, and enjoy your life. So that's it. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bulliam Tea out.